No spin, no bias, no censorship. I'm Dan Wootton. This is Outspoken episode number 328. Breaking right now. At least 2 members of the Jewish community dead, a suspected Islamist terrorist shot and killed by police, and 4 people fighting for their lives in hospitals which have gone into lockdown after a terror attack on a synagogue in Manchester on the Jewish holy day of Yom Kippur.
Hey, I'm just jumping out of this in a minute. He's going to blow himself up. He's trying to press the button. Lad, fucking shoot him! Fucking hell.
The Prime Minister has flown back from Denmark to host an emergency COBRA meeting as the police confirm the incident is terrorism.
Counter-terrorism policing has declared this as a terrorist incident. Our specialist teams are now leading the investigation into what happened at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue and working closely with Greater Manchester Police. As we do this, those who have been killed and injured are at the forefront of our minds, as are their families, friends, and all of those who love them.
But the MSM has already disgraced itself, with Sly News referring to the synagogue as a mosque, and the British Bashing Corporation attempting to blame the so-called far right.
People on the hard right, the far right, are a bit divided on their attitude to the Jewish community these days in the UK.
At that mosque at the time, I haven't been able to speak to anyone directly, but looking around, there's a lot of extremely concerned people around here. Obviously worshippers from the mosque, are a crowd.
And how predictable was all of this? Was all of this after the tsunami of Jew and Israel hate, including from Slippery Starmer and his Labour Party over the past 2 years?
The Jews first, their real animus is against democracy, against the West. I mean, I'm speculating about this guy's motivation. We don't know that. I should make that clear.
Yes.
But it's certain that that the people who hate the Jews the most are also the ones who hate Britain and the West the most. And it's worth reflecting on that, I think, today.
Yes, and worth underlining exactly what you said. We still do not know anything about the motive. We heard there from the anti-terror police the sorts of investigations that they are currently carrying out.
We don't know anything about the motive. I mean, come on. Seriously. It's someone with explosives wrapped around them conducting a terror attack at a synagogue on Yom Kippur. Wake up! So in my digest next, how hatred of Jews has consequences and why this state of terror simply cannot go on. Then, Paul Thorpe joins me live for analysis. We'll bring you all the breaking details on this developing story. Also coming up on the show today, Katie Hopkins says the Muslim takeover of the UK and the lack of safety after terror attacks like the one conducted today are driving Brits out of the country. Tommy Robinson exposes the MSM for trying to falsely paint him as a racist after the success of the Unite the Kingdom rally. And Woke ITV, accused of axing a conservative from Big Brother after a matter of hours simply because she was a Tory. The contestant in question, Emily Hewitson, will join us live. We'll also have Lady Colin Campbell here on the uncancelled after show over on Substack. We will still reveal a Greatest Britain and Union Jackass at the end of the show as well. Your nominees today, Owen Jones, put forward by Mad Dog Photo, not because he got kicked out of the Labour conference, but for attending the conference on the pretense of being a journalist and still taking sides with Palestine. Rachel Reeves, nominated by Matt Cass 48. He's in their head. Nigel. Reeves goes full on Farage derangement. It's shockingly embarrassing. And Yvette Cooper, nominated by Kaz Quinn, who says not a word of truth in her or her colleagues, all simply bullied misfits driven by hate and revenge for not fitting in. If you still pretend to be a socialist at their age, then you are lost. So, huge day of breaking news. We will bring you all the latest developments on the terror attack from Manchester. Let's go. How long can we continue to live like this? How long can we pretend the tsunami of hate against the Jewish population isn't going to lead to more terror and more deaths? How long can the warnings from Jews about the explosion of anti-Semitism these past 2 years continue to be ignored? How long can Slippery Starmer and his truly evil Labour government act like their language of attacks and war while recognising a Palestinian terror state isn't having violent consequences? How long can the police jail innocent people like Lucy Connolly for angry tweets about the attacks on our country while allowing the likes of Bob Villan to incite actual violence against the Jewish population? Well, at 9:31 this morning, I think we got the answer to a lot of those questions. This man, suspected but not confirmed to be an Islamist terrorist, suspected but not confirmed to be an aspiring suicide bomber, drove his vehicle into the Jewish population at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Crumpsall, Manchester, before attacking a security guard with a knife. I believe it was no coincidence this attack took place on the Jewish holy day of Yom Kippur, with the suspect shot dead by police after he had already killed 2 members of the local Jewish community. He's also left 4 people fighting for their lives in hospitals, which are themselves in a security lockdown throughout Manchester. Watch this shocking moment.
Fucking hell, they just...
Everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away! Somebody stay with casualties! Everybody else, he has a bomb! Go away!
He's got a bomb on him! He's got a bomb! Mate, he's got a... Man, he's got a bomb on his fucking jacket, mate. He's trying to go into school. Mate, he stabbed him. He's got a gun. No, he's got a bomb. Get the fuck out of here. Mate, if he detonates that... Mate, I'm just jumping out of this in a minute. He's going to blow himself up. He's trying to press the button. Man, fucking shoot him! Fucking hell. He's got bombs on him. He's got fucking bombs attached to him. Fucking hell. Get the fuck out of here while he's got bombs. Mate, he's dead on the floor. What the fuck? Wow, fucking hell.
Within an hour, the news Britain's Jewish community knew was inevitable started leaking out in the MSM.
Welcome back. I just want to bring you some breaking news that's coming into us from Greater Manchester Police. Police in this city are responding to reports of a stabbing at a synagogue in the Crumpsall area of the city. That's according to the police force there. No further detail at this point as to the circumstances around this incident. There are a number of synagogues in the Crumpsall area of Manchester. The police have responded to reports of a stabbing there. We're going to keep a very close eye on this, as you can imagine.
I just want to bring you some breaking news that's coming from the police in Manchester. We don't have many details at the moment, but Manchester police are saying they're at the scene of a reported stabbing at a synagogue in Crumpsall area of Manchester. They are saying that police believe there have been multiple people who have been stabbed.
Breaking news that we've heard in the last few moments. Police are at the scene of a reported stabbing at a synagogue in Crumpsall, Greater Manchester. Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham has said it's a serious incident.
And we'll keep you updated as this develops, because there are casualties that we're aware of.
But we're used to what's next by now, aren't we? First, Sly News referred to the synagogue as a mosque multiple times.
This is the holiest day, as you say, in the Jewish calendar, Yom Kippur, and a lot of people would have been worshipping at that mosque at the time. I haven't been able to speak to anyone directly, but looking around, there's a lot of extremely concerned people around here. Obviously, worshippers from the mosque. There are crowds on the street just outside this course.
Shameful. Then the British Bashing Corporation tried to set up a scenario where the so-called far right could be blamed.
People on the hard right, the far right, are a bit divided on their attitude to the Jewish community these days in the UK. But certainly the Jewish community has felt that they were at risk from multiple directions, some from the sort of extremist Islamist direction, but also some from the kind of neo-Nazi elements on the far right. So it is both that are of concern. And as you said, at this stage, we don't really know.
Then Sly News said the attack was likely linked to a mental health crisis. Then the British Bashing Corporation wheeled out a religious leader to tell us to respond with love.
And praying that as a community we respond in the way that we typically do in Greater Manchester, and respond well and respond by showing our love and our unity.
Slippery Starmer, having just recognised a Palestinian state, flew home from Denmark to attend this afternoon's emergency COBRA meeting.
The attack in Manchester this morning is absolutely shocking, and all of our thoughts are with those affected. I'm on my way back to London. When I arrive, I will chair an emergency COBRA meeting. I'm already able to say that additional police assets are being deployed to synagogues across the country, and we will do everything to keep our Jewish community safe. I've spoken to Mark Gardner of the CST and Andy Burnham, Mayor of Manchester, and I want to thank the emergency services for the speed of their response.
But for those of us who have been warning of this state of terror for the past 2 years, Starmer's weasel words were not good enough.
Too late. It's too late, Prime Minister. And when you recognise a Palestinian state, the cause that has been used to justify so much of the, not anti-Zionism, not pro-Palestinian, not anti-Israel, but anti-Semitic views and opinions and attacks on our streets, you gave them succor. You basically said, carry on, we'll give you the reward. That's what you did. This is on you. This is on you, Prime Minister. So don't you bloody dare say we'll put police outside synagogues. You're one of the reasons why there need to be police outside synagogues. Don't you bloody dare saying you want to keep the Jewish community safe in this country when you're part of the reason of why they are not. Shame on you. Shame on you.
And of course, what we have all been warning is that these attacks on the Jewish population is just the start of a much wider and a much more sinister bid to destroy the West.
While these people come for the Jews first, their real animus is against democracy, against the West. I mean, I'm speculating about this guy's motivation. We don't know that. I should make that clear.
Yes.
But it's certain that that the people who hate the Jews the most are also the ones who hate Britain and the West the most. And it's worth reflecting on that, I think, today.
Yes, and worth underlining exactly what you said. We still do not know anything about the motive. We heard there from the anti-terror police the sorts of investigations that they are currently carrying out.
So today we have heard ridiculous platitudes from people who have allowed or who have been part of the UK becoming the epicentre of Jewish hate. So just last night, as Heidi Backram explained, pro-Palestinians took over the streets of central London, set off fireworks in the busiest parts, chanted for Israel's destruction, and I don't see a single police officer. So do racist thugs run our capital now? It's like a nightmare dystopia. And as Stephen Pollard added, want to know why the Manchester attack happened? The authorities have allowed Jew hate to run rampant. Watch these scenes from London last night for yourself. That was all in aid of this vile little bitch.
Which is very worrying because people were not being treated well. I was not able to say goodbye to people, and I don't know what's happening. And there were many issues.
When you say they're not treated well, what do you mean?
Well,
could you elaborate for us?
Obviously in a very dehumanizing way. But of course I have to stress nothing compared to what Palestinians are going through.
But still, can you give us some, what happened to you when you arrived in Ashdod port? I mean, were you taken off the boat? Was there any violence? Were you detained? How? Where?
No, I prefer not to go into details about that. We were we arrived there, we were detained, and then we were, yeah.
Stop giving these insane people so much power over our country. As Zach Goldsmith put it, we all know what these people want. Eradication of the Jewish homeland and its people, but that's just the start. Their hatred of Jews is almost matched by their hatred towards the West as a whole, and yet our government weakly appeases them. Much of the media regurgitates their lies and propaganda, and foolish leftists share them. Globalise the intifada. What on earth do they think that means? We had a glimpse today in Manchester. Jews know there will be many more. Non-Jews need to wake up as well. But believe me, we're awake, okay? We're awake. That's why I've been calling out this type of disgusting behaviour for months.
Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF!
Israel or the terrorists! Israel or the terrorists!
I'll read out this from Chris. I do think it's worth saying that these warped views are not just an Israeli problem. My wife was brought up Jewish, and at Shabbat school in a leafy Hertfordshire town, she was taught that one Jewish life is worth thousands of Arab lives, and that Arabs are cockroaches to be crushed.
You are quite openly Jewish. This is a pro-Palestinian march. Intifada revolution! Fuck the Zionists!
And that's why it is infuriating to hear from the Jew haters in chief, like Owen Jones today. As I said, save your crocodile tears, mate. Or the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, who Chris Rose rightly responded to by saying, you're part of the problem. Or the Prime Minister, who Rael Braverman slammed by posting, you are truly an appalling man. I reject your sympathy. Because here's the thing. Our warnings have all been ignored. As Alison Pearson put it, since the Hamas massacre of 7th of October 2023, there has been a horrific rise in anti-Semitism, hourly anti-Israel stories by BBC News and others. Hateful protests by the left have made life dangerous for British Jews. Today's heinous attack on a synagogue is where it leads. Connor Tomlinson added, I'm sure this car and stabbing attack in Manchester on Yom Kippur happening 2 weeks after ISIS called for Muslims to shoot, stab and ram Jews and Christians in Britain is just a coincidence. It's not like, as I reported in July, the government has ignored warnings about an imminent jihadist attack by foreign and domestic terror networks, is it? I'm sure the far right will be responsible for this somehow. ISIS, and there's the headline, calls for slaughter of Christian and Jews in UK attacks. Well, it happened. Charlie Kirk's UK arm of Turning Point said Britain is under attack. The enemy is within. In 2024, the Golders Green kosher supermarket knifeman was spared jail. In August, ex-Labour councillor Ricky Jones was found not guilty after calling for throats to be slit. Just last week, the Islamist knifeman who attacked someone burning a Quran in London was spared jail. Is it any wonder these terrorists feel emboldened to attack people with knives? Two-tier justice has consequences. And Neo Berg reminded us all that a few years ago, and I'll never forget this, they drove through a Jewish neighbourhood in London shouting, fuck the Jews, rape their daughters, all charges were dropped. They are walking free among us. And you wonder how it came to this. My friend Liam Tufts, he fumed today. The gruesome terror attack at Manchester's synagogue should come of no surprise. The hatred towards Jews has been allowed to amplify over the last 2 years. Hamas supporters have lost all fear to hide in the shadows and proudly roar their loathing in the streets across the country. Britain should not be subjected to this manifestation of anger and violence. This could have been prevented if a zero-tolerance policy was taken on anti-Semitism in the UK. A targeted car ramming and stabbing on Yom Kippur is an act of purposeful evil. We should all be on high alert. History has proved that during holy Western moments, those that hate will strike for maximum effect and destruction. This way of life that Britain has been forced to desensitize itself to is completely unacceptable. Thoughts and prayers will never bring back innocent lives. We must prevent these attacks by ditching the cowardice Parliament is riddled with and start growing a backbone. Sadly, I have very little faith. Fuck anyone who emboldens these maniacs. Today, you have blood on your hands. Reclaim leader Lawrence Fox posted, remember that to vocalise any anger at another mostly peaceful stabbing from a follower of the religion of peace at a synagogue on the holiest day of the Jewish calendar makes you a racist Islamophobe. Deport these murderous Stone Age thugs. And of course, what about Tommy Robinson, who the left and the MSM have spent the last month demonising as a result of the success of the Unite the Kingdom rally? Well, Avi Yemeni of Rebel News responded to today's terror attack saying he was right about it all. And Tommy's approach today was uncompromising. He wrote, the Labour rats are running around pretending to care about the Jewish community. This attack is on you. This is what happens when you recognise a terrorist state. You coward, Keir Starmer. Don't you dare come out acting like you give a fuck about the Jewish community. You chose the side of the jihadists. And of course, despite everything that happened with Southport and Axel Rudakabana, the police have still decided to withhold information from us all about today's terrorist. So as we come on air, the cops, the officials, our leaders know the identity of the killer and no doubt know about his religion, but we do not. We are just meant to stay silent and wait patiently. Here's GMP Chief Constable Sir Stephen Watson in the past hour.
There will be lots of questions that people would like answers to, and quickly. But please understand that some of this will take time. What I can say is that the highly visible response to these dreadful incidents will be sustained as we work to understand the full circumstances of what has happened.
Well, with all due respect, sir, our patience is now running very thin. 2 innocent Jews are dead. 4 others are in hospital fighting for their lives. We need to know why. We need to know how this happened. And we need to know who was behind this attack. Was this man on any type of watch list? How was he radicalized? We need those answers, and hiding the truth from us doesn't work anymore. Now, look, we're going to stay across all the breaking developments throughout the show. And now for analysis, I want to bring in YouTube News sensation Paul Thorpe. Paul, a horrendous day in the United Kingdom. Your reaction?
Good evening, Dan. Well, it is a very sad day indeed. Look, I'm afraid if ever we needed a stark and tragic reminder of the seriously dangerous sectarian times that we live in, then I guess this is it. But I suppose that if your government reward terrorists, then don't be surprised when they feel emboldened enough to show themselves. Look, I suppose, firstly, we should all start by sending our thoughts and prayers and all that stuff to the victims and their families. But I'm afraid, Dan, that's all wearing a bit thin now, isn't it? We need goddamn action in this country from our so-called leaders, not shallow thoughts and prayers, which isn't, as you've already said, going to bring anyone back. Look, for me, this attack comes as absolutely no surprise, Dan. There were threats made to our wonderful and our peaceful Jewish community only last week. You've just put that on the screen. And look, if we got the time, I've got a couple of 3 questions that I have for the authorities. Well, look, firstly, what, if anything, did they know about this guy already? And the 2 other people that they've apparently arrested. Secondly, why hasn't the attacker's name and his ethnicity been made public yet, seeing as how quickly the police have been in the past to reveal that information? I'm talking, of course, about the attack in Liverpool. And thirdly, where is the absolute outrage then? Where is it? Can you even begin to imagine if this had, God forbid, been an attack on a mosque by someone from the so-called far right? We would all be made to get on our goddamn hands and knees this evening, probably give away a kidney in with a deal as we grovel our way to forgiveness. Let's see what this man's identity is. And when it is finally revealed, let's see what the reaction is from the mainstream media, and then more importantly, from their own community. The security services have been wasting their time up and down the country at airports, spending hours and hours questioning independent journalists, political commentators, people like you and I. Total overreach and a complete waste of their time and their resources, when their time should have been being spent on people such as this. And I've got to say, Dan, by the way, I'm sorry to ramble on, but my blood pressure is through the roof this evening. This should include our own Home Secretary, who herself, just this goddamn week, spent her time on stage at the Labour Party conference, gaslighting the nation, telling us that the biggest danger in this country comes from centre-right politicians and ordinary mums and dads waving their flags. Honestly, mate, I'm absolutely fuming tonight.
Oh, me too. Me too. And I mean, Paul, all week, they have obviously been driving the language of violence. And then all of a sudden, in all of their tweets today, we're meant to believe their weasel words. It's like, no, you have been responsible for this. You have been creating this, and we have all been warning you. The thing that I think I find most shocking, Paul, is that, of course, it's only in the past month that we've seen Charlie Kirk, another big supporter of Israel, of course, assassinated in the US. And yet Labour, just this week, the week of this attack, Paul, decided to import the language of political violence to the United Kingdom. And there are consequences to that. And they were warned.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Let's not forget that our current Home Secretary is part of the anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, pro-Palestine, and therefore pro-Hamas circles that will shed no tears over today's events, none whatsoever. And for me, the woman is an absolute danger. She is an insult to the nation, and she should resign today. She is simply not fit to hold office. And I personally, whilst I've got the chance, would like to offer our own unequivocal support to our Jewish brothers and sisters, who has given so much to our society, unlike some others who have come here full of nothing but hate and to cause both chaos and sectarian hatred. We do not want it. It is not welcome here.
Very, very well put. Very, very well put, Paul. And look, then you see the mainstream media reaction. And I mean, I've been looking, unfortunately, today at the mainstream media coverage. I mean, number one, this attempt by the British Bashing Corporation to try and suggest that this could well have been the far right. I mean, come on. I mean, they'll blame this invisible far right for anything. That was the first thing. But then the second thing, Paul, the number of times I have heard presenters today say, oh, well, obviously we have no idea about this person's motive. I mean, it could be a mental health crisis. Like, seriously, look at that man. He turned up at a synagogue. That is some type of potential suicide bombing device around his waist. Now, I'm not saying it was definitely a bomb, Paul, because as you know, very often these type of attackers want to put more fear into the people who they are attacking and make life more difficult for the authorities. So it could have been a fake suicide belt, excuse me. But the point is, of course we know what his motivation is. It's obvious.
Well, look, Dan, if it was the other way around, like I said a minute ago, if it was an attack on a mosque and it was a young skinhead with a Union Jack round his, round his shoulders, do you think the mainstream media will be taking guesses, or do you think they'd be saying, oh, we don't know the motives yet? Look, the bottom line is this. There's a lot of blood on the hands of the mainstream media, the police and the government, our politicians, and ultimately One day they all have to answer for their crimes and their treachery against the British people. Look, it's the Jews today, it's us tomorrow. At the moment, this is feeling more like 1939 Germany. God knows what it must be like, Dan, to be Jewish in the UK right now. I have a lot of Jewish friends, and I tell you now, they are scared.
It's utterly terrifying for the Jewish population. It really is. Paul, even though I think the Greater Manchester Police have made a huge mistake in terms of concealing this information from us today, I do believe they did an incredible job on the scene this morning, and credit is due there. I mean, the first call, Paul, to the police came in at 9:31 a.m. Within, we think, about 9 minutes, this terrorist was dead. So I just want to commentate with you over what actually happened here, because we've obviously blurred the footage, but I think it is very important to look at this from a news point of view. And so what you can see going on here, Paul, and remember there is the security guard just lying there dead, is that the police gave the suspect an opportunity not to sort of, hand himself in, but they could see that he was potentially going to blow himself up, and very quickly they fired the shot. What did you make of their response, Paul?
I thought it was magnificent, Dan. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm very critical of the police on many occasions. I'm critical about the way they handle the pro-Palestine marches in London and the way they've handled the, some of the patriot marches, etc. But these guys are proper boots on the ground. These guys are the ones that genuinely run to all trouble when everyone else is running away. My only fear now, Dan, and it's a genuine fear, is that the way this country is being run and the way it's being governed, I fear for that police officer that pulled that trigger. Who knows? The next thing, the poor guy will be facing charges. So, fair play to the police today, magnificent job, and, thank you for their magnificent service.
Of course, and for a period of time, the police were unable to confirm that the terrorist was dead because he was surrounded by these potential explosive devices, and so they couldn't actually check on his body until they had been weeded out. Now, the bravery. Sorry, you go, Paul.
The bravery of those officers there, I don't know if people may not understand ballistics and how things work. If that body was to have exploded there, the package would have been full of nails and, screws and anything else that can fly off and cause damage via shrapnel. Those officers could have been seriously wounded or killed or badly mutilated. So to be standing so close to that person there, the bravery shown is immense.
Paul, I am just hearing some breaking news from the Greater Manchester Police, who have now confirmed that the device the suspect was wearing during the synagogue attack was, in their words, not viable. So that, Paul, suggests what I was saying just a few minutes ago was indeed correct. This absolute gutless prick of a terrorist didn't actually intend to blow himself up. What he wanted to do was spark further fear into the people who were on the scene and make the job more difficult for the police. So it looks like, with the police saying that this was not a viable device, it looks like it may have been a fake suicide belt. And of course, that is a tactic that is used by Islamists, Paul. We have seen it used many times around the world by Islamist terrorists.
It is. It's an interesting use of the word "not viable," though, Dan.
What do you think that means?
Well, what I could possibly take out of that is that it was a poor attempt at a suicide belt, and that ultimately, if he'd have tried to have detonated it, it wouldn't have been viable. Doesn't necessarily mean to say that it didn't carry some kind of explosive or some kind of product that potentially could have spread far and wide damage, but ultimately wasn't viable. Maybe it just wasn't done correctly enough. But on the other hand, you may well be right, and it's very likely, as you said, a fake vest just there to cause even more terror.
Paul, can we also please talk about the enemies of the Jewish population who have been allowed in this country to roam free over the past 2 years? And I mean, the fact that those scenes in central London last night, central London, it looks like the damn Middle East.
Yeah.
And this was all as a result of Greta Thunberg's, ludicrous flotilla, which caused all of that trouble. But the point is, it really does feel like the pro-Palestinian nutters have been allowed to run wild in the United Kingdom. I mean, look at this, Paul. It's nuts. London. London.
It's shocking, Dan, and it's not just Jewish people either, by the way. Let me tell you that there are certain areas in London right now where I myself, and probably you as well, Dan, if we was to take a little toodle down there at 10 o'clock at night, well, we'd be lucky to get out the other end.
There are absolutely no-go zones in London now.
Yeah.
There are absolutely no-go zones in London. And I think one of the biggest problems we've got, Paul, is we have a government who are constantly, and a Prime Minister, Slippery Starmer, who are constantly trying to appease the hard left for political reasons, because they're terrified about what's coming with Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn and the sectarians, all of that, while lying to the rest of the world that, oh, there's nothing to see here. There's no problem with, Islamist extremists in this country. There's no problem with free speech in this country. Oh, no, of course there's no Sharia law, Paul, coming into London. Starmer just this week said that Donald Trump was lying about that. I mean, I'm sorry, there is. If you don't believe that there's Sharia law operating in major parts of London, you are denying what is actually happening, the destruction
all over
of our
the
country.
UK. All over the UK, Dan, not just in London, but right across the UK. I mean, I think at the end of the day, look, I said on the live last night that I actually think Keir Starmer's doing a good job. And the reason I think he's doing a good job of ridding this country from the left, probably forever. This is the end of the Labour Party. The hard left are finally being revealed for exactly what they are. They are precisely the Nazis that they accuse other people of being. This is a very dangerous man, the most unpopular Prime Minister of all time, the most dangerous government that we have ever experienced. And if we cannot get rid of these people very quickly, I genuinely fear for our futures, all of us. And that's not just the Jews, Dan, that is every single one of us.
Katie Hopkins is warning of the fact that actually a lot of Brits are now going to have to flee the United Kingdom because of this ongoing takeover of Muslims. And what's so shocking is that she is having to make these claims in the United States of America, of course, because she is currently being targeted by the British police over a comment she made using the word spaz on her Katie's Arms broadcast. But I think it's because she is prepared to say things like this. And after the terror attack at the Manchester synagogue, Katie's words are even more important. Listen.
And demographically, because we are already overrun, power sits with the Muslim religion, power sits with Muslim leaders.
Are you done?
And the government.
Is the nation done?
I'll never say we're done because we're still here fighting. I believe there will come a time not too far from now when the British people, true British people, will have to make very difficult choices. Either they will flee eastwards to Eastern Europe with our much more stronger Christian neighbours, Poland, Hungary, those countries, or they will seek asylum, flee, try to come to America, or they will stand their ground. But certainly the time of the Crusades will need to come again if we are to return.
What do you mean by that?
We are overrun in every way, in every sense. Demographically, all births, Muslim births outnumber births to every and all other religion. This is no commentary on anyone's religion. This is just pure fact. Our mayors who control funding in our capital cities are Muslim. Mosques are not churches. A mosque is being built at the outermost, tippy-most end of Scotland and at the furthermost reaches at the end of the other side of our tiny country. This is about a takeover. And of course, America understands because you have Minneapolis, because you have Dearborn, Michigan, and I see it all the time. These blue centres where they absolutely load it up with multiple occupancy homes.
Paul Thorpe, what's so disturbing is that Starmer actually wants to make that type of speech from Katie Hopkins illegal. But in light of today's terror attack, just think about what she's saying for a second. We are being overrun. She's saying she's not making a comment on the religion. She's just looking at pure facts. And she describes what's going on as a takeover. And obviously she's not speaking specifically about the Jewish population here, Paul. She's speaking about Christians. You know, so yes, there's a lot of the Jewish population who are thinking about escaping to Israel. But she says there's a lot of Christians who are thinking of escaping to even Eastern Europe. Is she right?
Dan, Dan, I'm in Spain myself for precisely the same reasons that Katie is in the United States. You know, look, I'm very grateful to the Spanish people for making me and my family so welcome and offering us a safe haven. I am actually a genuine asylum seeker, believe it or not. If I come home, I fear the government will persecute me for the things that I've said in the past, the things that I stand for. No different from many other people, but the authorities seem to get the hops for one or two individuals, and I fear that I may be on their radar. That is where we are at, Dan, when people who just simply call for peace, calm, harmony, love, respect, and unite behind that beautiful flag of ours, then you become a target for tyranny. And that's the situation. That's where we're at. And Katie, as always, bless her heart, is spot on the money.
Well, I mean, Paul, she, before so many of us, had to deal with the most brutal type of cancellation. I mean, Glenn Beck actually described it as the assassination of Katie Hopkins. And it really is worth listening to Katie, in her own words, explain exactly what she went through. Watch.
And I was a threat to my own children. I didn't get to be in their lives very much. We had to take them away from me. We changed.
What does that mean, you're a threat to your own children?
So at the point when I was the most hated and I had the biggest voice, and it was decided by powerful organisations, political groups and religious organisations that I would be destroyed, that destruction was universal. So it was my jobs, all of them. Lawfare that I'd caused you today. You could say you perceived I seriously harmed you with my speech.
Breaking right now, Slippery Starmer speaking at Downing Street. Let's take this from Sly News.
Because they are Jews, and attacked Britain because of our values. So many Jewish families first came to this country as a place of refuge, fleeing the greatest evil ever inflicted on a people. And Britain welcomed them. Communities like the one attacked in Manchester provided safety, but also the security that comes from a promise that this is a country that stands up to hatred, and that we don't just provide refuge, we provide a home. For so many Jewish families, that is the story of Britain. But Britain is also a country where Jewish buildings, synagogues, even schools require round-the-clock protection, where dedicated specialist security is necessary because of the daily threat of anti-Semitic hatred. Today's horrific incident shows why. And while this is not a new hate, this is something Jews have always lived with, we must be clear. It is a hatred that is rising once again, and Britain must defeat it once again. On behalf of the nation, I want to offer my condolences to the families and victims affected. I want to thank the Greater Manchester Police, the first responders, and those dedicated security specialists. There is no doubt whatsoever that they have prevented an even greater tragedy, and we thank them for their bravery. But to every Jewish person in this country, I also want to say this. I know how much fear you will be holding inside of you. I really do. And so, on behalf of our country, I express my solidarity, but also my sadness that you still have to live with these fears. Nobody should have to do that. Nobody. And so I promise you that I will do everything in my power to guarantee you the security that you deserve, starting with a more visible police presence protecting your community. I promise you that over the coming days, you will see the other Britain, the Britain of compassion, of decency, of love. And I promise you that this Britain will come together to wrap our arms around your community and show you that Britain is a place where you and your family are safe, secure, and belong. Thank you.
Oh my God, honestly, F you. Okay, just think about this for 1 second. When Southport happened and the so-called riots after Southport happened, Starmer was so quick to speak about the far right. This terror attack on a synagogue, Paul Thorpe, not a word about Islamism, not a word about what ideology might have actually resulted in this.
Dan's spot on. I'm watching that and I'm waiting for the word. I'm waiting, and it didn't come, did it? It did not come. And we know why it didn't come. We know exactly why it didn't come, because of fear. Because without those people, they have no one left to vote for them. This government is absolutely out of control. Keir Starmer is out of control. Like you just said, Dan, after the Southport incident, the tragedy that was Southport, how quick was he? Well, I mean, where are the 24-hour courts? Where is the promise that, you know, there will be further investigations and everyone that was even remotely involved in this, even anyone that had spoken to this guy, because that's how it worked out after Southport, would be pulled in front of 24-hour courts and sent to jail and feel the full force of the law. Where are those words today? He says that our Jewish communities will be able to feel safe on our streets again. Well, let's see him start this coming Saturday. Let's see how they behave again this weekend. Let's see how safe it is for our Jewish community on the streets of London again this coming Saturday. The man is full of hot air. He's a complete and utter gaslighter. He's a chancer. He is, without doubt, the worst man we have ever had in charge of this country, bar none.
He is the worst Prime Minister in British history, Paul. Of that, I am in absolute full agreement with you. And I mean, the other thing I thought, Paul, when he was speaking, is he said, this is not a new hate. This is something Jews have always lived with. And to me, the suggestion there was that, oh, well, this isn't on us. And actually, it is. Because you cannot tell me that 10 years ago, there was this level of anti-Semitism in the United Kingdom.
Dan, 10 years ago, the vast majority of the population would never even given any of this a second thought or a second glance. I don't mean the incident today. I'm talking about the anti-Semitism, sectarianism. If you mentioned sectarianism 10 years ago, you'd immediately think of the troubles in Northern Ireland, the 60s, 70s, 80s, etc. But today, everyone, I would imagine, everyone is now aware of the dangers that we face from sectarianism in the United Kingdom. And I'm afraid, Dan, it has to be called out for what it is. It's only coming from one particular religion. We know who that is. It is the Islamic extremists. And Keir Starmer should have said so.
Yeah, but he didn't. And the problem is,
he hasn't got the courage.
No, well, he doesn't. And what makes me so mad is that this is all coordinated, right? So it's like, okay, I can get out in front of this before we know anything about this man, so that people like you and I are unable to speak in anything other than an information vacuum right now. We're making assumptions, right? We are, because we do not know for sure. We have our suspicions, and I think they are, this is a suspected Islamist terror attack. Of course it is. But he is able to get out in front of any official statement about the identity of this man. He took no questions because he's a gutless bastard, so no one could ask him anything about the identity of this man, and then he can go and hide away.
Yeah. Yeah, look, Dan, it's, as I said, it's no surprise, is it? We all know what he's like. But I'll go back to what I said a little bit earlier on. Just imagine if the tables had been turned and this had been an attack on a mosque and this was an indigenous white Brit that was a flag waver. Do you think the language would have still been the same? Do you think he'd have still spoken in that fashion, or do you think he would have been more firm in his resolve and in what he was saying? As I said, the man is a gaslighter. The entire Labour government are full of gaslighters. That front bench that he's got is an absolute joke. We even had that clown yesterday, David Lammy, suggesting that Nigel Farage had a thing with the Hitler Youth. I mean, the guy simply hasn't got the intelligence to run a takeaway, let alone be the Deputy Prime Minister.
100%. And then the other thing, Paul, that Starmer did in that Downing Street address was use this whole line that we saw after Southport, which is talk about the other Britain. So something really bad happens, something really heinous happens, and we're furious and angry about it. And he wants to turn it into a story of sweetness and light. Do you remember after what happened in Southport, it was, oh, how wonderful that the people came out and they cleaned up the streets. And it's like, again, to me, this is sickening diversion.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we've all now got to sit back and wait for his 30-second visit to Manchester. He'll no doubt lay some flowers, probably get booed and shouted at and disappear back down to London. So, that's what he does, isn't it? Look, I've run out of things to say about the man. He, as I said, he is the worst Prime Minister we've ever had. I've never, ever felt this politically engaged with anyone because, quite frankly, in all the years that I've been growing up there, and obviously a bit older than yourself, quite a bit older, but we've never had any need to get involved politically in the past. Not like we do need to.
No, because we are fighting for our civilization. I mean, that's what this is about.
We're fighting for our very future.
Yeah,
we're fighting for our very future.
Look, I want to bring you some breaking news from the independent media because that's who I trust, right? I don't trust the mainstream media in these situations. So Alex Phillips, via her Substack, has just issued what she describes as a must-read warning. And she writes, with America on high alert, the Manchester synagogue attack is feared to be the start of something terrible. She writes, I can disclose to you that New York has put all its synagogues on high alert while we know that the UK Prime Minister cancelled a trip to Norway to hold a COBRA meeting. Whether this ends up being a lone wolf attack or part of a broader coordinated offensive, it is clear intelligence agencies fear something much greater. And she says December 2025 is a date that has been circulated by those connected to intelligence as the target for mass terror attacks across the West. The attack could use aviation assaults using advanced hidden bombs, Mumbai-style assaults with hostage-taking, mass casualty urban attacks on targets such as churches, hospitals, malls, and transit systems. Such an enormous terror attack has never been seen before and is planned to dwarf even 9/11. So, I mean, obviously, Paul, we don't know at this point if this is the beginning of this, but the point is, and by the way, Alex Phillips is quoting security sources here, American security sources. We cannot be willfully blind to what our enemies are planning. It doesn't mean that they won't be successful, but why was 9/11 so successful? Because we'd been willfully blind for so long. We have to wake the fuck up.
100%, Dan. And look, you said yourself earlier on, ISIS have been warning or have issued a warning about what's to come. Anyone that has even had one eye open over the last few years knows exactly where this is going, knows exactly where it's heading, and we know exactly the aims and ambitions of the people involved. We're under no illusions. Let's say it as it is, Dan. It's a big statement, but let's call it for what it is. We're at war. And if this government If this government cannot get to grips, if this government or the next government, perhaps more importantly, doesn't get to grips with the enemy within, we have a major problem right in front of our very eyes, and a battle that if we don't take up, we're going to leave to our kids. So it's up to us.
So well put, Paul. So well put. Katie Hopkins, I think, has been so brave talking about why this fight matters and why so many people are trying to escape the country and what she went through personally. But what is quite inspiring to me is that in America, for the first time, she's been more comfortable in terms of getting personal about her own family, who, let's be honest, went through absolute hell, and also celebrating having her own voice back. Watch this.
The world gave me back my voice. The world's done a 180 and I now can speak again. And the thing to return to where we were, about why I have such faith in young people, is that universities no longer matter. I totally accept the elite universities here, amazing, and the I so see, but you know, I so see, like, if you play football here, that really matters and that's amazing. But other unis, our unis, it's over. My kids, without my say-so, having missed much of their lives, they are 21, farmer. She's a tough bird. She can drive a tractor. She has 250 head of cattle that she runs. In fact, she'd like to come out to Texas and be a farmer here. I'm very keen for her to marry an American. Yes. Yeah. Then my next daughter, 20 years old, she's gone into the hospital as a nurse. She cares for dementia patients, never went to college. My son, who's 17 and 6'4", is a mechanic, is an apprentice at a garage, will never go to uni. And I see that playing out time after time after time. Kids choosing a different route. Maybe they'll do some uni, maybe they'll do some learning, but they are not going to be on campus to get themselves into massive debt, to be indoctrinated by people who look like those weirdos on campus, or look like the liberal women look, like the feminazis 2.0, where the O stands for, oh my God, is that thing really a woman? Right? They are some ugly women out there. The feminazis with their placards. At the inauguration of Trump. Come on, save the polar bear. None of them knew why they were there. My body, my choice. With that body, you don't get a choice, honey bunny.
So, Paul, some levity from Katie Hopkins at the end there. But the point that she is making is just so serious, isn't it? Like, they set out to kill her. You know, and they came close to succeeding. And it is amazing now hearing her have the confidence to speak about her family and the fact that because of the independent media and because of the Trump revolution, she does have her voice back. But Katie Hopkins, I think, provides not just an inspiration, but also such a real warning.
Look, the respect that I have for Katie Hopkins is just immense. I've only met her once. It was at the Unite the Kingdom inauguration when we met back last year, and the warmth that she displays, that she's just such a genuine, lovely individual, and I've got so much respect for her. She is the queen of the country, really, these days. Since the death of our beloved Queen Elizabeth, you know, Katie has taken over, hasn't she? You know, she's just a magnificent, warm human being, and people need to listen to her. We are very lucky indeed to have someone like Katie on our side.
We really are. We really are. And I have so much respect for her honesty. And I think we have to think a lot about what she said. And that's why people have to fight against cancellation with, you know, every single fiber of their being. Because the fact that we allowed, as a population, Katie Hopkins to be cancelled means that actually we're about 5 years behind in this fight. Developing today, Tommy Robinson has exposed the mainstream media witch hunt against him in the most hilarious fashion. Now, after the success of the Unite the Kingdom rally last month, he knew that there was going to be an onslaught from the legacy media, the establishment, the deep state to try and take him down once again. Tommy isn't having it, though. He's not taking it this time. And so when he discovered that the Sunday Times, the establishment Murdoch newspaper, was speaking to his school friends from 26 years ago, specifically non-white students, to try and paint a picture of racism at school, he fought back. Now, we're going to get analysis on this from Tommy's close ally, Paul Thorpe, in just one moment. But first, watch this.
People were in London on that date. You're a journalist, so you should surely have looked through the footage. How many people were in London on that date?
Well, I don't know, 100,000 plus was what they said.
Was what? No, you're a journalist. Come on, you've got your own mind. Forget what they said. Forget what the.
Well, I wasn't at it.
But you're doing your research. You're running a whole story. You're contacting people who went to school 26 years ago about this bloody subject. So you're doing some research on it. So surely you've looked at the footage, at the videos, at the overlays, at the overheads, at the helicopter footage. It's a simple question. You're a journalist. How many people?
I've no idea. I can't guess how many people were there. I don't know how to guess the size of a crowd. What are you saying? You saying there was? Do you want to say there was a lot more people there than 100,000? Or
it's comical. You see what I mean? You can't even bring yourself as a journalist to come to a true reflection of what happened on that day.
No, I honestly can't guess the size of a crowd.
So where'd you get 100,000 from?
The police said it, didn't they?
No, they didn't. So where'd you get 100,000 from? The Metro newspaper said it. One of your fucking lying bastard journalists said it. One of your lot said it. Again, so where did they get it from?
I don't know.
And you can do it. You can quite easily do it. Okay, where did the Iraq war protest figures come from? The biggest protest in British history. Where did those figures come from?
I can't remember.
Well, you're doing an investigation. You're covering this event that happened last weekend.
Where did they come? Well, wasn't it Stop the War Coalition? I don't know.
Coalition. So the people who organised protests told everyone how many people come. So look, the point is, you're a journalist. You're doing an investigation into the biggest protest in British history, because that's what happened on the 13th of September. You can't even bring yourself to admit how many people were there at the start of it. Yeah? And you're contacting Asian kids I went to school with 26 years ago hoping for shit. So you're not doing a true reflection to say, here's what happened, here's why it happened. You're looking for dirt, which is what you told my mate. You rang him up, you're looking for dirt on Tommy Robinson from school. Yeah? You ain't going to get none, least of all from any Asian kids. Because I was friendly with every kid at school. Black, white and Asian. There's no racism here. There's no bullshit racist story you're going to dig out of the dirt, mate, yeah?
Well, I mean, I wasn't asking for dirt. I was just asking who you were and what you were like at school. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know what he or whoever it was told you, but that's not what I was doing.
Told me that you're ringing, asking for dirt. So I thought I'd make contact. Now you've got my number, Hugo, if you need it, yeah? And okay. If you're going to do a reflection of the story, try and be honest about it, yeah?
Well, I'll certainly come back to you, yeah. All right.
See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
Paul Thorpe, I'd say Hugo Daniel was well and truly owned there. But before we come to specifically what they were trying to do in terms of that offence archaeology from the past, it is astonishing, isn't it? That a journalist like that just parrots the 100,000 figure, isn't prepared to do any of his own research.
They're just unbelievable, Dan. I mean, how anyone takes these people seriously these days is beyond me. But I think we missed the best part of the conversation out. When Tommy introduced himself at the very beginning, the guy was so starstruck. I'm sure he's got little pickies of Tommy's on his bedroom wall, really. I mean, all these people would love to be Tommy, wouldn't they? That's the bottom line. That is the truth. All these people have a massive inferiority complex when it comes to Tommy Robinson, and I don't blame them. The guy's a hero. There's not many Tommies around, is there? But no, absolutely disgraceful. Trying to convince us that he wasn't trying to dish up any dirt. Well, I'm not sure that any of the Sunday Times readers would be interested in what Tommy used to have for school dinners. So they were obviously after something. But I will add this as well, Dan. I've been around Tommy enough to know this guy is not a racist. In fact, he is one of the least racist individuals that I've ever known, because every time I see him, he goes out of his way to show it and to prove it. They're wasting their time, Dan. I tell you what, he'd be better off. I forgot the journalist's name already now, but he will be better off. Hugo Daniel. Hugo, you'd be better off doing some digging and dragging up some dirt about some of the people involved in today's terrorist attack. How about that? Spend some time bringing the public some news that will really benefit them, mate.
So true, so true. Well, look, You mentioned the other part of the call. It is worth listening to.
How come you're only approaching Asian kids I went to school with?
I've literally only approached like a few people. I mean, well, in fact, it was, yeah.
Yeah, Asian kids I went to school with, and none of whom have got a negative word to say about me. So I'm asking you, how come you're only contacting Asian kids I went to school with 28 years ago?
I've received messages from people I went to school with 26 years ago saying that the Sunday Times are contacting them asking for dirt about me, asking for any negative information or dirt about me for an upcoming article they're running on me. So I'm going to ring the gentleman now.
Hey?
Hi, Hugo.
Hi. Sorry.
How are you?
Yeah, good. Who is it, sorry?
I'm just inquiring why you've been contacting children I went to school with, or people I went to school with 30 years ago. It's Tommy Robinson.
Tommy Robinson? Oh, my God.
Well, you shouldn't be that shocked. You're going around people I went to school with, asking them to dish up dirt on me. Anything negative they've got to say about me from 28 years ago.
I haven't asked anyone to dish up dirt.
Yes.
But, yeah, I did contact. I was trying to find people who went to school with you, yeah.
Yeah? What for? What for, Hugo? 28 years ago. What? And you did ask them to dish up dirt, because the lads told me. I've got a recording of what he just told me. So you've gone to Asian kids. How come you're only approaching Asian kids I went to school with?
I've literally only approached, like, a few people. I mean, well, in fact, it was... Yeah.
Yeah, Asian kids I went to school with, and none of whom have got a negative word to say about me. So I'm asking you, how come you're only contacting Asian kids I went to school with 28 years ago? What is it exactly you're looking for? You're not looking for a broad...
I'm not doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's not a story I'm working on this week, but it's something that I was looking into because obviously your march got 100,000 people to go to London. So
because I had a protest that had 100,000 people that went to London, you then decided to contact... So explain how you narrowed down who you're contacting out of the kids in my year at school.
Well, I haven't, because I've only done a little bit of work on it. But,
bit of work where you've only rang Asian kids. You've rang Asian kids. Asian kids.
No, I haven't even managed to get hold of anyone.
No,
really.
Yes, you have, because I've spoke to them. You've rang Asian kids.
Oh my God, Paul. I mean, he was totally starstruck, but it's like, at the same time, whether it's because your bosses are demanding you do it, you're out trying to destroy this guy.
It's crazy, Dan. I'll tell you what, I don't know who's going to see him first next, me or you, but we'll get him an autograph, shall we?
Yes, exactly. But look, there's a very serious thing going on with Tommy, which I want to ask you about, Paul. He posted, in 2 weeks, the state is putting me on trial again, this time using terrorism legislation. And again, I will not be judged by a jury of my peers. I'll be judged solely by a state appointment judge. So as always, I expect to go to prison on these trumped up charges, If you can make it to my trial, which will take place at Westminster's Magistrates on Monday the 13th and Tuesday the 14th of October, I will wholly appreciate it. If they can do this to me, they can do this to you. And Elon Musk actually responded to this, Paul, writing, while not without its flaws, there is wisdom in the jury system. So are you concerned, Paul, that Tommy is going to be locked up by the state again?
I'm always concerned when it comes to the state and Tommy, because I believe that there is nothing that they wouldn't do to silence him. And I mean, absolutely nothing. And the worse the situation the country gets into, the more I fear for him, because his voice of truth, whether you like him or not, whether you like Tommy Robinson or not, it has no bearing on the truth. And he speaks the truth, and he's spoken the truth for many years. So the answer, Dan, is yes, I do fear for him. But please God, we'll get the right result, and he'll be found not guilty and let go. I mean, look, it's a relatively, I say, a minor offence. I mean, at the end of the day, they are overreaching everywhere. We've already discussed it. They're pulling people in left, right and centre under anti-terrorism laws, which I believe they have no right to be doing. A very good friend of mine was pulled in, held for 6 hours by the anti-terrorist police at Gatwick Airport. No rhyme or reason. The guy has a completely clean criminal record. Hasn't even ever had a parking ticket in his life. What the hell is he doing being pulled in by the anti-terror mob? It's absolutely incredible, and it's happening all the time.
It is. It really is, Paul Thorpe, and we will continue to call it out. Such a pleasure to have you on this big day of breaking news. And of course, Paul Thorpe's YouTube channel is a must watch. I watched your live broadcast last night with Sarah White and some other very good folk, and it was absolutely compelling. So let's keep doing this in the independent space, Paul.
Keep up the good work, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We'll speak very soon. Now, Greatest Britain Union Jackass on the way, but first, today's uncancelled interview. So you know what? Woke ITV will kick you out of their flagship reality show within hours if your crime is being a conservative. That was the fate suffered by my friend Emily Hewitson, who was clearly going to be one of the most interesting, compelling, and fun contestants in this year's series of the reality TV show, until producers who had purposefully tried to demonize her because of her politics in her introductory VT introduced a new twist, which meant she was out the house immediately. Clearly, this is ludicrous. I mean, the Daily Telegraph are completely right to say that she was booted off Big Brother for being a Tory. And they write the frustration for Hewitson is that by combining the edit of her interview with the twist of a first night eviction, the show's producers denied audiences the chance to get to know her and left her vulnerable to being the first sent packing amid a wave of social media vitriol. Online critics have been quick to describe her as the Liz Truss of reality TV. So short was her stint, while there were calls for a boycott of the show from social media users who deem her political views unacceptable. And Emily said, I was absolutely expecting that. I caused that storm, but then I didn't get the opportunity to show anything else and counter all the negative hate that I got. I really wanted to show that there's so much more to me than being a Tory. But who needs Big Brother, Emily Hewitson, when you've got Outspoken? And it's so funny, actually, because we were chatting at Maya Tusi's wedding and I said, oh, you've got to come on Outspoken. Come on, you've got to come on. And we were planning a date. And then all of a sudden you're in the Big Brother house. So I was like, okay, I know what's going on there. But I feel like what Woke ITV did to you, Emily, and I know you've taken it very well, but I feel like it was a real despicable stitch-up. They demonized you and they wanted you out on the first night.
Yeah, so Dan, you know now why I was being a bit ambiguous with those dates for your show. It's all come out. But yeah, I mean, let's be honest. If you're going to edit a VT to make it all about me being a Tory and then go straight into a public vote, the writing's kind of on the wall. Obviously, when you're filming a VT, you film, you know, a long conversation. They've then edited that to only include the bits about me being a Tory, which is so fine. Big Brother's a bit of a pantomime. I was very happy to go in as the Tory villain, as some stories have said, and that's so fine. However, they did not give me a fighting chance to counter that narrative. So in the end, all I got is a whole wave of abuse, which I'm used to anyway, and no chance to even counter that. So yeah, it was very disappointing indeed.
But I mean, isn't it extraordinary, Emily, though, that we still live in a world where the mainstream media, because by the way, their channels are dying, right? Their channels are dying on their ass because of this demonization of 50% of the population. Because even though the Conservative Party itself is in deep trouble at the moment, and we'll come to that in a little bit, the point is, this is fundamentally a small c conservative country where over 50% of the population support either the Conservatives or Reform UK or Advance UK, or Restore Britain, whatever the movement happens to be. Yet It's like you're living in a parallel universe when you watch a show like that.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said that the Big Brother audience perhaps isn't that representative of the wider population. It is quite a left-wing audience, which is totally fine. But if you're going to put someone on as a Tory, and Big Brother's all about different opinions, or supposedly, you should at least give them a fair chance. Because at the end of the day, when the public has to vote for a bottom three, they're going to go for the big characters, and certainly a big character that's also a Tory. And to not even give me that opportunity to counter that and show that there's a lot more to me than just, this Tory villain persona is really disappointing, because I think this is a time really where I'm saying a lot of what people are finally agreeing to. I mean, Dan, you'll know, we've been kind of fighting this fight for a while, and it finally seems to be catching on with the whole, raising the colours thing, etc., etc. And people want to see those characters on the screen, but when ITV don't even give you that chance, it's a bit disappointing. And we kind of need more Tory representation and right-wing representation in the media, because that is representative now of what society believes.
Of course, this was an opportunity for ITV to actually bring some of that debate into the Big Brother house this year. And my God, you're completely right. I mean, never has a channel like that needed it more. Needed discussions about patriotism, about Islam, about the migrant hotel protests, about the pink ladies, about Nigel Farage, about it all. And, you're tight with Nigel, there's so much you could have brought to that house. And that's what made me sick about it, because it was so obvious the way that they fixed the vote, that it was designed, I believe, specifically for you to go. Now, the thing is, Emily, we know ITV have been wanting to do this to you on a show for so many years as well. They've been after you, because remember, you came previously on my GB News show when you had actually turned down an appearance on Love Island because ITV had been desperate to get you on Love Island. And so this is what's so frustrating. It's like, you've waited all of these years, and then to make some pathetic point, like to appease the left-wing woke mob on social media, they boot you out after a couple of hours.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really important to note as well that Big Brother actually approached me.
I said, exactly. You didn't apply.
No, and I just kept getting through the rounds, and I was like, if I get it, I'll go for it, kind of thing. But yeah, it's such a long process. I don't think people realize. I think I was first approached about 6 months ago, and there's so much that goes into it. You then are also put in a hotel by yourself a few days before, with a chaperone, and you have to go through every single item of packing. You get spoken to about how to behave in the house. You get a whole manual of how to live in. There was no indication that they were going to bring this twist, which they've never done before. I think the last time they did it, they brought that character back. So yeah, it was an absolute huge shock that no one saw it coming, and just a real missed opportunity, really. And I will add that I think the first 2 episodes were, the viewership was pretty good, but I heard the 3rd episode, which FYI didn't include me, was the lowest viewings that they've ever had.
Exactly, because they're not going to have any drama. Now, look, Emily, you have come under a little pressure from the right at the same time. People saying, Emily, what on earth are you doing standing by the Conservative Party? And that went viral this week after your appearance, because you're still going to be attending Conservative Party conference next week. And you posted on X, the reason I'm still a member of the Conservative Party isn't because I am happy at how they have acted in government. In fact, I am dismayed. It's because I am conservative, small c, and this should be the Conservative Party. I am fighting for the party to return to its core values. At the point this becomes untenable, I will leave. And for you, you sort of say your red line would be if Robert Jenrick defected to Reform UK. Kemi Badenoch's launched a bit of a fight back today in The Spectator magazine. But do you really believe her when she says that she's going to be the next Prime Minister?
I mean, if you speak in close Tory circles, even her biggest supporters have kind of accepted the fact that she won't be leader at the next general election. I've heard that many say that. So I think it's pretty clear that, right now, I think she is good on some of the policy stuff. So if she kind of hammers that stuff down, and then we get someone that's a bit more charismatic, that kind of rallies the troops a bit more, like Robert Jenrick, I think you never know. But primarily, we need to get the wets out and stop kind of trying to appease the liberal wing of the party and actually return to what we should be, which is conservatism, because Reform at the moment are really winning that battle. And that's why it's so tempting for somebody like me to leave. And the problem is if people on my side of the party continue to leave, there'll be no one left to fight to make it a Conservative Party. And then it really, truly is toast.
Yeah, indeed. Emily, look, I want to come back to today's breaking news because I know this is a story that you have been deeply impacted by. At least 2 members of the Jewish community are dead. A suspected Islamist terrorist has been shot and killed by the police, and 4 people still fighting for their lives as hospitals have gone on lockdown after this terror attack on the synagogue in Manchester on the Jewish holy day of Yom Kippur. Watch.
It's absolutely awful.
He's
And
going out of this in a minute. He's going to blow himself up. He's trying to press the button. Man, fucking shoot him! Fucking hell.
The Prime Minister has flown back from Denmark to host this emergency COBRA meeting. The police have confirmed now the incident is counter-terrorism. Watch this.
Prison policing has declared this as a terrorist incident. Our specialist teams are now leading the investigation into what happened at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue and working closely with Greater Manchester Police. As we do this, those who have been killed and injured are at the forefront of our minds, as are their families, friends, and all of those who love them.
But of course, all day long, Emily, the MSM disgraced itself. Sly News, because clearly they just couldn't accept, that this was in a synagogue, so they actually referred to it as a mosque. And then I want you to watch this. The British Bashing Corporation have even attempted to blame the so-called far right.
People on the hard right, the far right, are a bit divided on their attitude to the Jewish community these days in the UK.
At that mosque at the time, I haven't been able to speak to anyone directly, but looking around, there's a lot of extremely concerned people around here. Obviously, worshippers from the mosque are a crowd.
And, I say all of this was so predictable after the tsunami of Jew and Israel hate, including from Slippery Starmer. And this is what Jake Wallace-Simons had to say about it.
Well, these people come for the Jews first. Their real animus is against democracy, against the West. I mean, I'm speculating about this guy's motivation. We don't know that. I should make that clear.
Yes.
But it's certain that that the people who hate the Jews the most are also the ones who hate Britain and the West the most. It's worth reflecting on that, I think, today.
Yes, and worth underlining exactly what you said. We still do not know anything about the motive. We heard there from the anti-terror police the sorts of investigations that they are currently carrying out.
I mean, Emily, I couldn't believe that. It's like, what the hell do you think the motivation was? It's Yom Kippur.
It's just the double standards as well. We all know if this was seen as, a far right attack, it'd instantly be labelled far right. They wouldn't give the kind of grace of, we need to see the kind of intentions of it. And we saw that with their Liverpool car attack on the Liverpool fans celebrating. They were very quick to reveal information about the driver of the car and his biological characteristics. But it just seems a massive double standards here. And it's really, really awful what's happened. And I think this really shows that amongst all these Palestine marches, and not for 1 minute do I believe that everyone that goes there is violent and has something against Jewish people, but there's certainly, Keir Starmer has not got a grip on the kind of extremism that is very prevalent in these marches and that leaves the Jewish communities in this country incredibly scared. And when the BBC are giving a platform to the likes of Bob Whitlam at Glastonbury, who says he wants to, kill Zionists and death to the IDF, it just kind of, amplifies this message and incites violence.
Yeah, indeed. Well, look, I want to show you actually because you mentioned Bob Whitlam, just some of this. I would describe it as Jew hatred or Israel hatred, which has become so commonplace across our society. Look at this.
Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF! Death to the IDF!
Israel are the terrorists! Israel are the terrorists!
I'll read out this from Chris. I do think it's worth saying that these warped views are not just an Israeli problem. My wife was brought up Jewish, and at Shabbat school in a leafy Hertfordshire town, she was taught that one Jewish life is worth thousands of Arab lives, and that Arabs are cockroaches to be crushed.
You are quite openly Jewish. This is a pro-Palestinian march.
Fuck the Zionists.
And Emily, even last night in London, as a result of this flotilla with Greta Thunberg, there were the most crazy scenes from the pro-Palestinian mob. So this has become so normalised. What do you make of it, Emily?
It's just absolutely shocking. I mean, it's just it feels like it's become so normalized, and Keir Starmer certainly hasn't helped with some of his recent announcements. And it just seems that kind of hatred towards Jewish people isn't treated the same as hatred amongst any other kind of racial group would be. It's just honestly a really, really scary time for the Jewish community. If you speak to anyone that's Jewish, they're genuinely scared, and they shouldn't have to put up with this. It wouldn't be put up with for any other marches. If you look at the way that kind of, Unite the Kingdom rally was reported on, and the way that the MSM, completely shut that down as, a violent demonstration. But then you see scenes like this, and they're very quick to say probably that it was mostly peaceful.
Yeah, always. Well, there was barely any policing at all yesterday at that event. Emily, I do think we have to give credit where it's due, though, today. And even though I think the Greater Manchester Police have been very wrong not to release the suspect's name, not to release his ethnicity, not to release his religion, we're still waiting for that. I do think the initial response today, which did involve frontline police officers very much putting their life on the line, was highly effective. This is what happened.
Fucking hell, they just...
Everybody else, get back! If you're not involved, move back! Get away! Somebody stay with casualties! Everybody else, he has a bomb! Go away!
He's got a bomb on him! He's got a bomb! Mate, he's got a... Man, he's got a bomb on his fucking jacket, mate. He's trying to go into school. Mate, he stabbed him. What a gun? No, he's got a bomb. Get the fuck out of here. Mate, if he detonates that... Mate, I'm just jumping out of this in a minute. He's going to blow himself up. He's trying to press the button. Man, fucking shoot him! Fucking hell. He's got bombs on him. He's got fucking bombs attached to him. Fucking hell. Get the fuck out of here while he's got bombs. Mate, he's dead on the floor. What the fuck?
I can be trying to set up a bomb.
Wow, fucking hell.
And Emily, that scene, I mean, so I praise the police. I praise the police for their quick actions. I really do. That scene gives me total chills. I mean, you see the two Jewish men, it's Yom Kippur, that they won't have their phones or anything like that, walking past the security guard who we believe is lying dead there. I mean, it's just utterly horrific.
I mean, honestly, it brings a lump to my throat. It's absolutely horrific. But you are right to point out that the police should absolutely be commended on this occasion. And I saw a tweet actually saying that they hope that no kind of proceedings are taken against the officer who shot, because you never know in this day and age, which is so scary. But the police should honestly be really commended in the situation for their bravery, and they deserve medals, putting their life on line like this. When there was a real threat that he could have had a bomb, it's just absolutely awful. It really is no words, and the fact that this is becoming normalized is just awful beyond words, and we really need to take action on this because it is becoming a real problem in this country.
And your response to Starmer saying, oh, I promise you we're going to do all we can, and, not mentioning a word about the threat of Islamism?
No, exactly. And if you speak to any Jewish person, they feel really, really let down by Starmer. It's same old Labour, really. They don't want to take their swift action because they're really concerned about losing a portion of their voting of their voters, which is just awful as well. I saw a tweet actually earlier that I thought was very true, that Keir Starmer was very happy to, show support to the Jewish community when it helped him politically. But now he's kind of doing the opposite when he sees it advantageous to try and get other voters on side. It's just awful. This isn't a political game. This is like genuinely people feeling endangered for their life.
I know. Well, Emily Hewitson, looks so great to have you on Outspoken. Sorry it's in these circumstances, but now that you're free of the Big Brother house, you'll have to come back very soon, please.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
Emily Hewitson, Conservative commentator. It's the loss of Big Brother, the fact that they got her out of that house so quickly. Ludicrous decision. Okay, Greatest Britain Union Jackass in just one moment, but first to your comments. Thank you for the super chats. Kendra Pinder says Starmer enabled Islam, calls who speak out enemies. Stevie Leeds in response to Starmer says your party is responsible for this, you disgusting bastard, Starmer. And Disruption says Keir Starmer has been doing nothing but giving his condolences to white people whose children are being murdered by the very grotesque people he's inviting into the UK. From Jack Lemon responding to some of this mainstream media coverage, Sky so wanted it to be a mosque. Synagogue just didn't fit the narrative. Jays writes, genuinely heartbroken for our peaceful Jewish communities around the UK today. What a dreadful country to be living in currently. Robert Seagull says, Dan, I need to speak on your show. I'm Jewish, I'm boiling, I have tears and spitting anger at the same time. Robert, I mean, I hope you understand that that's exactly how I felt, and I tried to represent you today the best I could. Thank you so much for your note. And John Gray says, Starmer could have nipped this in the bud 2 years ago, but he kowtowed to the Palestine mob instead. Okay, time to reveal today's Greatest Britain Union Jackass. A reminder of your nominees. Owen Jones, nominated by Mad Dog Photo, not because he got kicked out of the Labour conference, but for attending the conference on the pretense of being a journalist and still taking sides with Palestine. Rachel Reeves, nominated by MattCass48. He's in their head. Nigel. Reeves goes full on Farage derangement syndrome, and it's shockingly embarrassing. And Yvette Cooper, nominated by Kaz Quinn, who said not a word of truth in her or her colleagues, all simply bullied misfits driven by hate and revenge for not fitting in. If you're still a pretend socialist at their age, then you are lost. And to the results, it was close today with 26% Yvette Cooper. The runner-up with 33% of your vote, Owen Jones. But today's Union Jackass, Rachel Reeves with 41% of the vote. And of course, because it is a Thursday, we will be launching our search for the worst Briton in the world this week, immediately after the show in the post section on YouTube. It's a Labour slam dunk this week. It was Keir Starmer on Monday, Shabana Mahmood on Tuesday, David Lammy on Wednesday, and Rachel Reeves today. You can get voting very shortly on that. And today's Greatest Britain, nominated by Boggy Wood, the Jewish community of the UK on Yom Kippur. And Boggy Wood says their community faces sheer endurance in the face of real hatred. Oh, what a show. Really, really difficult one. Thank you for your company. We are going to join Lady Colin Campbell now over on Substack for all of the royal news. You can sign up to watch at www.outspoken.live. And we will be back with you 5 p.m. UK time, midday Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. Hit subscribe if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble. Please do subscribe to our podcast too, available on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Rate and review. That really means a lot in terms of getting the show up the algorithm. And most importantly, I promise to keep fighting.